Hi, welcome to Voices. I am Andrew Burrows. I'm your host for this segment of Voices. In studio today, we have Pastor Reinaldo Dracket. Pastor Dracket, welcome to Voices.
Thank you, Pastor Burrows. A privilege to be here on your program, Voices.
And welcome to the Union's headquarters.
Thank you.
It is good to have you with us today, and I'm happy that we have this opportunity to share some things about yourself and your ministry, particularly in the Cayman Islands Conference. For the sake of our viewers, Pastor Dracket, tell us, who is Pastor Reinaldo Dracket?
Oh, that's a very interesting question.
Yes.
Well, Pastor Burrows, I'm the first child of six boys. And I have spent most of my life out of my native country. I studied at the former West Indies College, Mandeville, Jamaica. Well, I did 1 year in Costa Rica, my home country. But you know, there was a time when a lot of my fellow colleagues, I would say there was a kind of fever going around. And they said, let's go to an English-speaking country where we can brush up our English, they said. And so that's where we found ourselves in Jamaica. And I was there for 4 years, where I met many of the men and women, workers in God's vineyard, from the Bahamas, and all the countries here in the West Indies.
So you mentioned you met a lot of men. Is that where you met your wife?
Oh, yes.
Oh, man.
That's one of the best things that have happened in my life when I was going to West Indies College.
Okay. So we'll talk about your wife a little later in the program. But you mentioned that your native country is Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born in Costa Rica, and for a little bit of geography, Costa Rica is located between Panama and Nicaragua.
In Central America.
In Central America.
Okay.
I grew up in one of the largest largest churches in the country at that time, Seventh-day Adventist churches, an English church, by the way.
An English church?
Yeah. You know, that's interesting because even though I grew up speaking English, you know, on the street and so on, I could not read it, nor I could not write it. That sounds kind of funny, eh?
But now you speak English and write English.
Yeah, because
and of course Spanish is your native language.
Right. So you know, we all go to Spanish schools, so we learn to read and write Spanish, but English was just spoken on the street. So my church was my first English school.
Okay.
So when I got baptized, I bought me a Bible and a hymnal. So when I would go to church, I would, you know, look for the numbers, and I would, you know, follow the words while I listened to the folks singing. And that was my first introduction to learning to write or to read English.
Okay. And so now in the Union, it's a blessing that you could speak both Spanish and English.
Yeah, indeed it is.
Now tell us your journey from Costa Rica to Cayman. How did you end up being a pastor in the Cayman Islands Conference?
Well, that's a very interesting story. I had served in Costa Rica after leaving school for around 5 years. When surprisingly a phone call came in one day, and that was Pastor Johnson, Dr. Leonard Johnson.
Okay.
He was working in the Cayman Islands as youth director. Pastor Neville Scavella was the president then in the Cayman Islands mission at the time. And they asked me if I would be interested in coming to the Cayman Islands to work. I said to myself, well, that would be a good experience, plus I would be closer home to where my wife is from. So I said, well, let's...
Where she's from the Bahamas?
Yeah, she's from the Bahamas.
Okay.
So I said, well, Cayman is closer to the Bahamas than Costa Rica. So, well, I'm sure that she'll be happy being in Cayman. And so that's one of the reasons how we got there, you know. And I've been in the Cayman Islands now for 26 years, as a matter of fact, this month.
26 years.
26 years.
And how many years in ministry in total?
31 years.
So just about 5 years in Costa Rica?
Yeah, just 5 years there.
Okay, wow.
So she had the privilege of learning Spanish and all. You know, it was a new experience for her, but she liked it.
Now tell us, who's your wife? And I think at one time she was the principal of the Cayman Islands Academy?
Yeah, Cayman Academy.
Okay.
My wife is, here in the Bahamas, they know these ladies as the Carey sisters.
Okay, all right.
So I'm married to one of the Carey sisters. Guess what? The most beautiful of the Carey sisters. So I'm married to Nelda Rose, and we have been married now for 31 years.
Okay.
And, you know, we have 3 children, 3 young adults. 2 are married, and the girl, the youngest one, is still single. Yeah, so it's been a great journey. Okay,
so now let's go now to your ministry in the Cayman Islands Conference, because you say you've been there now for over 25, 26 years.
26 years, yeah.
And you've held a number of departments. I remember Pastor Reinaldo Dracket as the youth director for a while, about 10 to 11 years. So how was that experience as a youth director?
Oh, that was great. You know, Easter is coming up. You know, for 11 years, I spent Easter at camp, you know, sleeping in tents and all the rest of it with the Pathfinders, Adventurers. It was a really rich experience working with young people.
Yes, it is.
And, you know, being in so many different programs, seeing young people develop in the Lord, and to see them today as young adults growing strong in the Lord, that's the most fulfilling thing, you know. But youth ministry, I'm told, you know, keeps you young.
Okay.
So they told me, or they tell me rather, that I do not look my age, even though I won't tell you my age, yes, but you know, I want the young people to still think that I'm young. Okay. All right, but it's certainly a great experience.
Myself in youth ministries for a number of years, and it really keeps you young, keeps you on your toes.
Oh,
keeps you vibrant, ministering to the young people of our church.
Yeah.
You also served at one point as the personal ministry Sabbath school director for the conference.
Yeah, one of the first departments I served in at the Cayman Islands mission then was personal ministries. Okay. And then at the last quadrennial session in 2012, I was asked to serve again as the personal ministries director and Sabbath school. I'd never served in Sabbath school before. This was my first time. I've served in several other departments. I always, you know, anticipated one day serving in the Sabbath school, so I feel very privileged, you know, to serve God's church in those departments.
You know, Pastor, I've attended some of the initiatives that you have organized. I tell you, the Festival of the Laity last year in the Cayman Islands Conference that concluded all the others in the Union, that was a tremendous experience. I want to commend you on that, you know.
Okay, thank you.
So how was it planning that Festival of the Laity? I mean, to get all those churches together, they were so vibrant, they were motivated, jubilated, excited, and the weekend went well. I know after that you must have been exhausted. But share with us just briefly on the Festival of the Laity.
Yeah, you know, we highlighted it as one of the most important events in our conference. As a matter of fact, was the second Festival of the Laity we would have celebrated, and we sold the program to the membership. Well, firstly, I elected a committee to plan the program, and I must give them the commendation for that, you know, because it's a teamwork, and they did such a fantastic job, and the churches really got on board and, you know, took initiative in doing their part to make sure that their church shined at the festival. And of course, we had to have everything timed. We had to have people monitoring everything just to be sure that, you know.
I always commend that. I told you that those churches were right on time, and you managed to get all of the churches to do 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And each church did a mini sermon.
Yeah, you know. So some had a testimony, some had a mini sermon, but everybody knew that they had a cut-off time, so they had to work within that framework.
And also Sabbath school. You mentioned while we were talking that your wife assists you in Sabbath school.
Oh yeah, well she from we started ministry, she has been, you know, working in Sabbath school, of course other departments too, but this year has been designated as the year of non-formal education. throughout our church, especially here in the Inter-American Division. And the Sabbath School is leading out in a special program equipping our Sabbath School teachers. And I think that this is so fitting because teachers play such an important role in our churches. You know, teachers will determine the direction the members of the church will go, whether they will remain loyal to the Lord or not. You see, teachers are very influential people, and so if they are thoroughly equipped as they should, they can be a powerful force, not just to win, but to nurture the members of the church as they join God's church.
And so you have already started your training for the year of non-formal education for the Sabbath School Department. I've seen some of the pictures, some of the articles, some of the stories on the Cayman Islands mission site, and that's commendable. What other areas have you served in, departmental areas that is?
Well, when I started ministry at 3.5 years after I started ministry in Costa Rica, I served as publishing director. At that time, there were many colporteurs in the different fields around the division. In Costa Rica, we had over 200 colporteurs. And so we had to man that huge army of colporteurs. And, you know, Sister White said that our printing, our books and literature should be scattered as the leaves of autumn. And so we had that philosophy strong in our bones, everything. So we had colporteurs blanketing all of Costa Rica. And we had to go for every weekend. We had to go to different zones, meeting with these colporteurs, coordinating, and so on. And apart from publishing, I also served at that time as health ministries. Now, when I came to the Cayman Islands, as I make reference to earlier, we served also in health ministries. We served in personal ministries. Youth was the longest department I served in. But thank God for the privilege I've had of serving in the different areas.
So it's youth, personal ministries, Sabbath School, publishing, education,
and maybe some others there I can't recall right now.
Look like you've been serving all the departments of the church, and the Lord has been blessed. And that's not all, I understand. But what we're going to do now, Pastor Dracket, we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about the other areas of service to the church, particularly in the area of administration. Let's take a break at this time.
Sweet April, that calls me from a world of care, and it bids me at my Father's throne make all my wants and my wishes known.
Hello everyone. I'm so happy to come into your homes today or wherever you're watching this program. And I just wanted to remind you of this beautiful creative instrument that God has given to each of us. It's called the Sabbath. I'm sure you would have heard about it before, but here's how good God is. As a creator, He knew what was best for us, and He gave us this 1/7 of our time, and He says, take that time and just reflect on me. It's a time for worship, it's a time for reflection, it's a time to do good deeds, but it's a time to remember that whom the Lord keep is well kept. I love the Sabbath. I look forward to the Sabbath. It happens at the end of the week. The seventh day, it is the Sabbath of the Lord. One of the reasons why I like it is because God knew what was best for us. For example, Jesus kept the Sabbath. And I often say, if it was good enough for Jesus, it is good enough for me. Where did I get that, you ask me? It's in the Bible. We take the Bible and the Bible alone, so that if God says it, I will believe it, and that settles it for me. That passage is Luke chapter 4 and verse number 16. It says that Jesus had a habit of going to church every Sabbath. You look through the book of Acts and you'll discover that all of the disciples, all of the apostles, if you please, they kept the Sabbath. And then the Bible has something so striking to say in the book of Isaiah chapter 66 verses 22 and 23. He says that all those who are going to heaven will keep God's Sabbath. It says from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another. How often do we have the new moon? Every month. How often do we have the Sabbath? Every week. So every week, everybody, the Bible says, all flesh will worship before me. Isn't this place, this earth, our church environment, our family setting, isn't that our practice home for heaven? Yes, it is. And so we want to practice to be kingdom worshipers, kingdom keepers even from now. I love God's Sabbath. Every Sabbath He gives us, it's a wonderful time for us to be rejuvenated, recreated in His image, as it were. Can you imagine what it would be like living your entire life without having a Sabbath, without having a rest at the end of 6 days? Wow. God knew what He was doing. I just want to challenge you today. Continue to keep God's Sabbath. You'll discover that there's blessings, and there are blessings innumerable in it, because whom the Lord keep is well kept.
Hi, and welcome back to Voices. We have in the studio again Pastor Reinaldo Dracket. Pastor Dracket, we've been talking about your various segments of ministry in the Cayman Islands Conference. We talked about your Sabbath school, director of personal ministries, youth. Now let's talk about being in administration. You have served as the executive secretary of the conference before, and just recently you have been asked to serve as the executive secretary again. First of all, let me just commend you or congratulate you, and to let you know that as a union family, we are praying for you. Thank you. As you venture out and helping the Cayman Islands Conference in this vital area of ministry. Now tell us, sometimes you hear the term executive secretary. Why do we use the term executive secretary for those for our viewers? Share with us, why do we say executive secretary? Is there a difference?
Well, I guess it's the chief secretary in the church, because you see all well, we call them church clerks. In Spanish, we call them church secretaries. Okay. So all the clerks, secretariat department, that is, falls under the secretariat department of the conference. Okay. So I guess that's the reason why you call it executive secretary.
I mean, executive.
Yeah. And because of the main officers of the church in every level, the president, the secretary, the treasurer. So I guess that's the reason why they call it executive. But I mean, for me, it's not there, here or there.
So what's the role of the executive secretary? And I understand the executive secretary is one of the administrators, or part of the administrative team of the conference. What is exactly the role of the executive secretary of the conference or the mission?
Yeah, the secretariat department, headed by the executive secretary, as he said, has to coordinate all the policies, reporting, minutes for the conference. You think about the workers, the what do you call it now, the service records, which is very important. Yes. It might not be important to a person who just starts. Yes. Oh, I tell you. But however, when he or she is reaching retirement, that's when service record play a very important role in people's lives. So Secretariat has to be sure that they carry an accurate record of those services for every worker in the church.
And times have changed, and I know I know now you have records in logbooks on paper. Yeah. And now I think with the advancement of technology, now we're doing a lot of the paper stuff,
Yeah.
And we now having digital records and technology. And by the way, recently you were in the Bahamas, and you attended a training conference on ACMS. I think that's the name of it, ACMS.
Yeah.
Can you just share briefly what that conference is all about, ACMS?
Yeah, but just backing up with the paper record and so on, you see, and it's a kind of archaic system.
Yes.
I remember coming into Secretariat after Pastor Jeff Thompson of Bahamian served as president with Pastor McDonald as his secretary. When Pastor Jeff left the Cayman Islands, Pastor McDonald became the president, and I was asked to serve as a secretary. The following quadrennium, under Pastor Danny Clark, again at Bahamian, I was asked to serve as secretary, and then Pastor Powell was asked to serve as the secretary in the last quadrennium, but then he received a call to serve as president of the Atlantic Colombian, or the Colombian Island Mission.
Yes.
And so therefore the position was left vacant, so therefore they asked me once again to come into Secretariat. But speaking about the system of record and the papers,
yes.
you know, some of those papers, because as I mentioned earlier, service record has to be so carefully kept, and the division insisted that originals are important. And when you check some of those records, the papers are yellow. If I got to really frame some of those papers. So you mentioned the electronic system and so on. Man, that's a welcome, innovative form of keeping the records. Because even, at least in the Cayman Islands, the clerks of the churches, they basically have their names of the membership list electronically and so on, because it's very tedious to carry all those records, to write them by hand. Several records were lost during Hurricane Ivan that affected the Cayman Islands way back in 2004. But saving your record in the clouds, as we say today, you know, there's so much advantage.
So is that safe, Pastor?
Yeah, because I mean, you can save your record in so many different places. If you have a thumb drive, you can have several thumb drives and keep the thumb drive at different places. You know, so there are advantages.
So what if something happens to computer crashes or whatever, but your backup plans?
Yeah, but you know, with the saving your information in the clouds, even if your computer crash or your iPad crashes, you still have the information, you see. One good way some people do it is even emailing the information to yourself, so it's always there, you know. So there are a lot of advantages in having those records electronically kept today.
Now, Pastor, let's go back to the seminar. I happen to have sat in on the seminar with Pastor Fernando Salazar. He's the Inter-American Division's trainer for this new software that the World Church is coming out with, ACMS. Tell us exactly what is ACMS.
We were just introduced, as you know, to this program. But as we listen to all that it would be able to do, it's such an exciting and and a great time to which our church have come. On record, we are told that the General Conference, its membership, it's around over 18 million.
18 million since last year.
And just imagine to keep the record of all our members, it's really a challenge. Yeah. But with this program, you're able to trace every member of a church, because in a large church, right, there is the weakness of duplications, members not being entered properly as it should, and so therefore it affects so many things. And some people might think that record is not important, but the Bible says in Acts 2:47, and the Lord added to the church daily such as should be saved. And so God, God is a God of order, and I believe that His church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, should also, have order in the way we do things.
So Pastor Dracket, now you mentioned a figure there, just over 18 million. The Adventist Church surpassed the 18 million membership mark worldwide. And I was reading a figure here, something that the Executive Secretary of the General Conference, Elder G.T. Neg, noted. He said on any given day, there are over 3,000 persons who are baptized in the Adventist church.
Yeah. So, Ellen White says...
Go ahead.
Ellen White says that Pentecost is going to be repeated. So if Peter, in the days of the Apostle Peter, when he preached on the day of Pentecost, and 3,000 were baptized in one day,
And then the Bible says the Lord added daily.
Daily, such as should be saved. So we are just scratching the surface. So imagine what God is going to do in this end time as he brings his people from far and near to be ready for the glorious return of our Lord. So we're living in exciting times.
So 3,000 persons in one day.
In one day.
It says here 127 persons every hour.
Yeah.
And every minute, 2 individuals.
Whoa.
So by the time this show ends for half hour, that's 60 persons around the world.
Can you
who have been
imagine?
baptized into the church.
Right.
Now, my question to you, Pastor Dracket, as the Executive Secretary responsible for membership, is how does the church, first of all, how important is membership in a church? Because I could just come to church. I don't need to be a member of the church. Do I need to be a member of the church to be saved?
No, not really. Christ is who saves. But the Bible says we should not forsake the assembling of ourselves together. So the church plays an important role. And the reason why, for records, in order for us to nurture and to attend these believers, these members, records are important.
Okay.
You see? In order to make projections to cater for these members, records are important, because we cannot make projections without knowing exactly how many people you're catering for, you see. So all of these information through Secretariat is very important as the church plans for the future, especially as we mentioned, if Pentecost is going to be repeated, as we make projection, how many were baptized this year, how many we visualize, joining God's church in the years to come. Projections and plans need to be put in place in order to cater and to minister to these people as we help ourselves to live in readiness for the coming of the Lord.
So you're saying now that the church membership and keeping a track is not just about more so numbers.
No.
I heard Pastor Salazar saying in the seminar that the software program or the program is really more about membership care. Rather than just counting the membership.
Exactly.
Okay. Because some would argue, say, well, why all the focus on numbers?
Yeah. And you see, I believe that this new software, this new system is going to make everyone, of course, more accountable. From the wide organization, you'll be able to see exactly how many members at this church, and so much information that and again, the bottom line is caring. You see, how are we extending caring? And you see, under personal ministries, there's also another section called retention and conservation of the members. So the same emphasis we do in bringing, there must also be the same and more emphasis in keeping. And we like for members to understand this, okay? As Christ brings these new believers to us, he also commissions us to nurture and to care for these new believers so that we all can live in readiness for the coming of the Lord, you see. So certainly has to do with caring, more bringing and caring, more numbers has to do with caring. Because you see, the objective of preaching the gospel is preparing the world for the soon coming of Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question with the Adventist church membership system. It's a database for the entire world church or just Inter-American Division?
No, it's the entire world. As a matter of fact, since you asked that, Brazil was the pioneer in this program. As you know, Brazil is the singular country in all the world with the most Seventh-day Adventist members. So they initiated this system in the South American Division. And our division is adopting it, and I'm sure that the rest of the world is going to adopt it because, it's so beneficial to the church at this point.
So you're able to track the members in the system from all of the Inter-American divisions?
All of the Inter-American divisions. So from the smallest to the largest church, you can know exactly how many members there, and a given day, how many baptisms they are, and there's recorded, they are entered electronically.
And no need for those big logbooks anymore.
No. And if somebody need to be transferred, there's an easier way to do it, you see.
Oh, man, I tell you, that's good news, because sometimes as the pastor, you send a membership transfer, and it takes
an eternity.
An eternity.
Yeah.
You know, Pastor Dracket, there's so much things that we could discuss.
Yeah.
We're not out of message, but we're out of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just want you to share in a few seconds with your audience what you would like for them to hear concerning yourself and your ministry. Why don't you share with us at this time?
It has really been a privilege for me to serve God's church over these 31 years. I enjoy working with people. I enjoy ministering to people. I do believe, and I guess as we get older, we get wiser. But you know, one of my philosophies at this present time in my life is that life is too short. We certainly need to live in readiness for the coming of the Lord, and whatever the wise man Solomon says, whatever your hand find to do, do it with all your might. And so my desire is that we all will live in readiness for the coming of the Lord. It's certainly been a privilege to be here on Voices. And may God bless you as you continue this program, as we all grow in Jesus and get to know Him each day better and better.
Pastor Dracket, thank you so much for gracing us on Voices with your presence. Convey our greetings to your fellow administrators in the Cayman Island Conference, and also the membership. And thank you so much once again. This has been Voices. We have been talking with Pastor Reinaldo Dracket, Executive Secretary of the Cayman Islands Conference, a pastor, a husband, and a friend. Thank you so much for watching, and until next week, God bless you.